Hey everyone, Isho here. We've managed to cover a large amount of topics in our last videos, so go check out the videos tab on our channel if you're interested in spiritual topics. In this video, we're going to take a plunge into the hidden history of Earth and humanity's origins. This will be a compilation of interesting historical facts that also overlaps with what we've covered in the other videos. This one will be a wild journey, so hold on to your seat and let's dive in. The universe came into being, or maybe it's always existed, endlessly flowing like a divine breath. Clumps of matter flung through space eventually collided and coalesced into stars, planets, moons, and galaxies. Unless, of course, you believe we're living in some sort of Swiss cheese Truman show, or that the Earth is actually flat. Who's to say? Against the incredible odds, somewhere between 0.1% and 1%, life supposedly emerged. Cyanobacteria gained sentience, slowly evolving into fish, insects, mammals, and plants. At some point, something crawled out of the oceans and turned into dinosaurs who dominated the Earth for millions of years. Or maybe an ancient interdimensional race of primordials seeded stagnant universes with life, beings so advanced they might as well be agents of the Creator or even the universe itself. Then came the famous meteor strike. Dinosaurs wiped out, save for survivors like birds, chickens, sharks, and reptiles. Fast forward around 6 million years ago, the first human like species appear, Sahelanthropus. It took them about 4 million years to discover fire, which only happened around 800,000 years ago. And then between 40,000 and 50,000 years ago, every other human species conveniently vanished, leaving only Homo sapiens. If you buy the mainstream narrative, that is. But here's the kicker, we're missing a whole lot of skeletons to back it all up, a fact that drives archaeologists and historians nuts. The oldest human skeletons we've found so far, one is 300,000 years old in Morocco, another 195,000 years old in Ethiopia. But these finds were all made in the 20th century, so who really knows how legit they are? They say we've been here on Earth for 4 to 5 million years, yet we've uncovered almost no trace of ancient civilizations. The oldest structure we've officially found, the Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, clocking in at 11,600 years old, which just so happened to align with the dawn of agriculture and irrigation. But is that really the full story? What lies beyond these familiar facts? All around the world, myths whisper of colossal trees, world trees that connected heaven, earth, and the underworld. They're more than symbols. These legends span continents, cultures, and forgotten eras. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil and Irminsul. In Slavic traditions, the World Tree. Among Finno-Ugric and Siberian peoples, the Chud tree or Sampo tree. The Celts revered the Bile tree and the tree of Mugna. In Greek mythology, the tree of life in the garden of Hesperides and the oak of Dodona. Mesopotamia had the Huluppu tree and sacred palm trees. Hebrew, Christian, and Gnostic traditions gave us the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the Kabbalistic tree of life, Etz Chaim. Persian lore speaks of the Gaur-Karina tree. Hinduism offers the sacred Ashvatha and the Kalpavriksha trees. In Buddhism, the Bodhi tree and the tree of 10,000 realms. Taoist and Chinese mythology, the Fusang tree and the peach tree of immortality. African wisdom speaks of the baobab and iroko trees. In Mesoamerica, the Yaxche, Zeba, and Kapok trees. Native American traditions revere the tree of life and world tree. So, where are these trees now? In the physical world, remnants like Devil's Tower in Wyoming and the axe head shaped rock in New Mexico spark curiosity. If Devil's Tower was once the stump of a redwood like behemoth, then today's towering redwoods, only 380 feet, 115 meters tall, would be mere sprouts in comparison. The stump itself stands nearly 1,300 feet high or 400 meters, but if you imagine the full tree, we're talking 8,000 to 10,000 feet tall, 2.5 to 3 kilometers into the sky. Could the Earth's ancient atmosphere with higher oxygen levels and different pressure have supported megaflora and megafauna? Is it possible that these trees eventually petrified, turning into crystals and stone, perhaps even silicone, the very material we use to run our modern computers? Even the Earth's topography starts to look suspicious when viewed from above. Rivers branch like leaf veins, valleys and ridges resemble the structure of plants. Could some mountains and hills be nothing more than the collapsed remains of ancient plant life? Then there's the giant causeway in Ireland, a natural wonder made of perfect hexagonal basalt columns, nearly identical to those of the Devil's Tower. Irish mythology says they were part of a massive bridge built by the legendary giant Fionn Mac Cumhail. Meanwhile, the scientists claim that they were formed by volcanic activity 50 to 60 million years ago. Across the sea, we find Fingal's Cave in Scotland, linked to the same legend. The story says Finn McCool built the causeway as a bridge to fight the Scottish giant Benandonor. Were these giants building with trees, or something tree like, perhaps even planks from ancient mega forests? There's a conspiracy floating through the corners of the internet that J.D. Rockefeller coined the term fossil fuels to implement the idea of scarcity. If oil is actually the blood of the earth continuously regenerated by the planet itself, then it's not running out anytime soon. And if that's true, oil prices would plummet. So enter the dinosaur narrative, a tale crafted to convince us that oil comes from extinct creatures and is thus limited, a clever story to control supply, demand, and belief. Here's a fun twist of irony. Most of the dinosaur bones in museums, they're not bones, they're plastic replicas. That's right, supposedly ancient creatures crushed into crude oil, later refined into plastic and sculpted back into their former shapes. A perfect loop. Why plastic? We're told it's because real fossils are too fragile, too valuable, or that the public can't be trusted not to damage them. The real bones, they say, are held by private collectors or dumped in the Mariana Trench. But one might wonder, if we ran thorough DNA tests on these so called bones, would we discover a Frankenstein composite, bones from animals we already know? The illusion of dinosaurs starts to unravel when you realize that the target audience has always been children. All around the world, students are introduced to dinosaurs at a formative age, preschool or kindergarten, early elementary, well before critical thinking kicks in. They're mesmerized by colorful animations and epic roars, but never pause to wonder, how did dinosaurs mate? Once you go down that road, the logistics become absurd. Giant tails, massive bodies, the narrative starts to wobble. Meanwhile, what did ancient humans actually describe? Flying serpents. Dragons. In the East, dragons were celestial beings, bringers of rain, luck, and spiritual insight. They were symbols of imperial power, weather control, and enlightenment, sages and bodhisattvas in serpent forms, guardians of sacred relics and hidden teachings. In the West, dragons became villains, monstrous gold hoarding beasts representing sin, chaos, and temptation. In the book of Revelation, Satan appears as a great red dragon. St. George and St. Michael are often shown slaying dragons, symbols of light triumphing over darkness, Christ over the devil. In Norse mythology, the dragon Fafnir was once a man transformed by greed into a serpent guardian of treasure and ultimately of wisdom, hidden deep in a cave, the symbolic gateway to the underworld or the subconscious. Some ancient alien theorists believe dragons may have been misunderstood technological beings or even crafts themselves. In alchemy, the dragon is the prima materia, the raw, untamed force of nature that must be tamed and transformed to create gold, spiritual gold, enlightenment. Maybe the real question isn't did dinosaurs exist, but rather what did they want us to believe and what are we being distracted from? The story gets even more fascinating when we explore the mythology of ancient civilizations in both the Americas and Mesopotamia. Across these cultures, sky beings are said to have descended from the heavens in chariots. We touched on this in a previous video, so we won't dive too deep into it here. But in the Americas, these beings imparted knowledge of foraging, the Mayan calendar, and the stars. Consider the striking features of our planet: massive mountains that seem to be cut off flat like the tabletop Tepui plateaus in South America, almost resembling runways built for enormous ships. And then there's the mysterious fish-shaped bird jewelry, which at first glance could easily be mistaken for representation of airplanes. So how is it that bird people are mentioned in both South America and Mesopotamia mythology, appearing at roughly the same time? What about the smooth hills and mountains, which seems to have been excavated by massive machines, or the pyramid structures and towering mountains left behind, each one steeped in religious stories? The recurring flower of life pattern found in multiple locations around the world. And then there are the tantalizing clues: ancient astronauts in suits that look eerily similar to modern spacesuits, sitting inside what could be described as rocket ships. Now, what do we find in the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Book of Enoch? These texts, dated between 500 and 70 AD, were written in Aramaic and Hebrew, and fragments of the Book of Enoch were found among the scrolls. Both speak of angels, the Watchers, named archangels, and fallen ones. The themes of judgment, dualism, and the cosmic war between good and evil run deep in both. The scrolls describe a community preparing for an apocalyptic battle, likely between the sons of light and the sons of darkness, a concept echoed in Enoch's vision of judgment. The Anunnaki, the sons of Anu, the sky god, descended from the heavens to earth. In some Mesopotamian stories, they are portrayed as gods, judges, or watchers. These beings are often seen as the ones who imparted forbidden knowledge to humanity, mingling their blood with ours. Later interpretations even suggest they were ancient extraterrestrials responsible for bioengineering humanity to mine gold and claim dominion over the earth. Would this explain the massive excavations found all around the planet? The scrolls delve deeper into the story of the Watchers, Irim, the Anunnaki. These beings taught humanity magic, astrology, and metallurgy. The Book of Giants explore their dreams, regrets, and eventual downfall. Two of their offspring, Oya and Haya, try to understand their fate through visions. The scrolls connect these beings with cycles of cosmic rebellion and divine order. The Book of Enoch doesn't mention the Anunnaki's descent as a mission-based one involving genetic engineering and gold mining, but it's clear from the scrolls that the Anunnaki might have played a direct role in the creation of civilization itself. Sky beings descending, hybrid offspring, giants, forbidden knowledge, judgment, and floods. All these elements are shared between the scrolls, the Book of Enoch, the Anunnaki myths, and even Hindu texts. The only thing missing is the name Anunnaki itself, which doesn't appear in these writings, except under the titles Sons of Anu or Brahma's son Manu. If we accept that religious texts and ancient scriptures are rooted in truth, that they are oral traditions passed down through history, recounting the real past, then the idea of evolution, scientism, and dinosaur bones gets thrown out of the window. It would mean that human history is far more fascinating and resembles something out of Star Wars rather than a simple tale of Stone Age humans banging rocks together. In a previous video, we briefly touched on the Baghdad Batteries, but there's more evidence pointing to the use of electricity in the ancient past. Consider examples like the Dendera light from Egypt, Thor's hammer, Zeus' lightning bolts, Indra's Vajra, Raijin's thunder drums, and the weapons of gods like Perun's axe or hammer, Teshub's double-headed axe, Chak's thunderbolt, Shango's axe, Ukko's hammer, and Amun, Vishnu's lightning symbols. Our ancient structures use lightning rods. It's not a modern invention. Could it be that they were harvesting energy from the sky and storing it within these buildings? But why does the floor pattern of a church or cathedral mirror the design of a Chartres labyrinth coil, a potential Schumann resonator? Could these patterns have been used to store energy or perhaps amplify the Schumann resonance for its healing properties? The ancients may not have had the tools to measure voltage, amps, and watts, but they knew about the hidden elements of electricity and plasma, which they called ether, or what some call prana. This is the energy that ionizes the air and discharges as lightning. The Baghdad Batteries, for instance, could have been an early practical example of harnessing some of this energy, just like lightning rods collected the energy from the atmosphere. This suggests that the discovery of electricity may have occurred much earlier, perhaps before 100 BC, as a lost or concealed chapter of human history. In recent years, a growing wave of online speculation has reignited interest in a lost civilization said to originate from the Siberian region known as Tartary or Tartaria. Historically, Tartary was a real geographical label used between 13th and 19th centuries to describe a vast area stretching from Eastern Europe to Central Asia. But according to alternative researchers, something strange happened in the 1800s. The country and its supposed cities vanished, either destroyed in a global mud flood or wiped out by powerful outside forces, possibly secret societies like the Freemasons, who briefly mention Tartaria in their older texts. Some claim the Tartarian Empire once had access to free energy, advanced technologies like floating vehicles, and a deep understanding of natural resonance. Architectural wonders, buildings with grand domes, columns, and arched windows, are believed to have belonged to Tartarians before being stolen or repurposed by others. In the United States, for instance, it is said that these structures were rebranded as part of the Old World fairs, then dismantled or buried. One reoccurring claim is that many of these buildings were partially submerged during a global mud flood. The basements seen today may have originally been ground level floors, meaning entire lower levels were swallowed by earth and new civilizations simply moved into what remained above. We've touched on giants before in earlier videos and when discussing the Nephilim. Ancient texts across the world mention enormous humanoid beings, but perhaps the clearest physical evidence beyond scripture are the colossal Egyptian stone statues. Their proportions seems to match what one might expect from an ancient race of giants. Skeptics often argue that references to giants in religious or mythological texts are metaphorical, symbols of great power, spiritual status, or divine lineage. They interpret these figures as rulers, demigods, or cosmic judges, but others, especially those in alternative history circles, claim that literal giants walked the earth until surprisingly recent times, even up to World War I. One particularly strange tale comes from Afghanistan, where US soldiers reportedly encountered a massive, red haired humanoid dubbed the Giant of Kandahar. Some eyewitnesses or those connected to people who were there claim the military recovered the creature's body. In Greek mythology, we have Prometheus, a titan who molded humans from clay and gave them fire stolen from the gods, just like Lucifer. Sounds familiar? This story parallels the account of Brahma or Vishnu creating Adam from dust and Eve from his rib. Could these myths be tracing back to the same archetype or even the same beings under different names? There are also whispers of giant skeletons discovered during conflicts between settlers and Native Americans in North America. Yet perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in ancient Egyptian art, depiction of towering figures lifting the very stones used to build the pyramids of Giza, giants not as a metaphor but as the labor force of an advanced and forgotten age. We have giant doors with locks placed high above human reach. There are giant books, giant helmets, giant swords, giant axes, giant bathtubs, giant trees, and even giant temples, all scaled far beyond what an average human could use. Massive pyramids and monumental architecture across the world suggest these structures weren't just symbolic but functional. It's as if two worlds once coexisted, one built for small humans and another with shared spaces large enough to accommodate giants. If giants never existed, then what was the purpose of building such impractically huge things? What secrets did our ancestors hold about creating colossal things? After researching these topics for almost 2 decades and exploring the Akashic records, here's a theory of what actually went down thousands of years ago. In the beginning, the universe was created. There was very little life seeded, and some universes needed a bit of a kickstart. Primordial beings began creating life in many places, leading to the assisted evolution of animals and flora. They terraformed and crafted the pre-human ancient Earth, Eden, Tellus, Gaia, or whatever name it held. Earth was a natural reservation, a marvel of life, meant to be left untouched by alien species. Fast forward to the era around Brahma, non-human beings crash land on Earth after a celestial space war. Unable to leave the planet, repair their ship, or contact their home species, they form a plan. Amun, or Thoth, proposes using the DNA of local primates, and through genetic manipulation, they create a perfect subservient species made in the image of the gods. These first humans, the sons of Brahma, are taught mathematics, astrology, the Earth's circumference, and star positions by the deities. But as mentioned in the previous video, the humans rebelled, refusing to do God's math homework. In response, they are punished by Vishnu Yahweh, who floods the earth to initiate a reset. Adam and Eve are warned not to displease God, but they do so anyway and are exiled from the garden to multiply upon the earth. Perhaps the Watchers realized that trying to accelerate human development backfired, and so they decided to let humanity evolve on its own without further sky god intervention. The giants, or Nephilim, those half-man, half-deity beings, began mingling with humans, becoming the ruling families and royalty that guided civilization, wolves in sheep's clothing. This was the only way humans would listen, as they rejected divine authority or towering giants like Goliath. Fast forward again, and humanity collects vast knowledge at the Library of Alexandria. By the 14th century, this knowledge helps humans reach the stars. The government of that timeline develops technology capable of altering space-time, but then Earth is forcibly reset back to the library era, which is then burnt down. The Mongolians destroy the Baghdad Library as well. In this altered timeline, the Vatican enforces a medieval dark age, outlawing science, research, alchemy, potions, and drugs as heresy. In a separate timeline, Germany wins World War II and uses secret technology to reach space before the Apollo program. Then something goes back in time, destroys this technology, and they lose the war instead. In another version, Trump loses the 2016 election, and the opposing candidate sends Earth into World War III, causing a full civilization reset. 1,000 years in the future, someone decides to reset Earth back to 2012. In this new timeline, Melania Trump replaces Trump's former wife. He wins the 2016 election, and World War III never happens. And now we're here in this strange version of reality filled with Mandela effects and deja vus, a world with time travel machines, teleportation devices, black hole generators, and spaceships, where the Flu 19 was a scam and FEMA can rug pull the entire United States corporation under emergency authorization, where Evergreen was Hillary's agent name in the CIA, and this quote once appeared on the White House website during the last administration, where Kamala Harris' real name is Kamal Arush, and she's actually a man, and Fauci is the son of Mother Teresa, where our greatest ally in the Middle East casually name bombs the Galactic Federation and aliens, and Hitler escaped to Argentina and may still be alive, and is also Obama's grandfather, and Obama's real name, Barry Soetoro, where George Washington was related to English royalty, and Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son, and Chester Bennington is John Podesta's secret son, and Aleister Crowley is George Bush's grandfather or maybe his cross-dressing mother, where the Secret Service agent who shot JFK was actually the driver, And this JFK was a body double. The original event, like 9/11, was a staged movie. The Queen of England and Mandela, the You Only Live Twice guy, are in the same St. John's fraternity, where Epstein and Maxwell vacation at the same resort as the Queen, where Princess Diana's car crashed mysteriously and then changed license plates, and Queen of England secretly living a double life as actor Betty White. This concludes the secret history of humanity and a glimpse into the things many people may not know. There is a video here I put in the description called The History of Those Who Rule Over Us All. It's a very long, lengthy movie about a lot of the different royalties and different families throughout history. And so you should definitely give that a watch if you are interested in stuff like this. If the Earth has been reset before, how many times has it already happened without our memory of it? Why do ancient civilizations describe being from the sky, teaching them only to vanish? Who or what really created humanity and why? Why were giants so common in myth, architecture, and bone records, but then erased? Who decided what knowledge we are allowed to remember? What was lost in the Library of Alexandria and who wanted it gone? Did the Watchers or Archons have anything to do with it? If we reached the stars before, why were we brought back? Are today's leaders and corporate CEOs the descendants of ancient Nephilim bloodlines? Did the Vatican hide sacred science under the guise of religion? What's in their basement archives? What secrets did Hitler take with him to Argentina, and why did the CIA know he was there, keeping tabs? Who were the scientists behind NASA's moon programs, and why were they imported under Operation Paperclip? Why is déjà vu so familiar unless we've already lived this before? If the Mandela Effect is real, who's editing the script? Did the moon landing mark our return to space or our exile from it? What do the Watchers watch now if we're no longer their experiment? Are humans on the cusp of a breakthrough, a singularity that even the Watchers can no longer control? What was the original timeline, and are we still in it? What counts as a canon timeline? Is there such a thing? If time can be bent, altered, or erased, what is truly real? Was the flu 19 a test or a trigger, a forced apocalypse? Why does the United States hold emergency powers that override constitutional freedoms? If space travel, teleportation, and time machines exist, where are they hiding them? Why do the same families and dynasties always rule, even across different countries and centuries? Did we evolve from apes or were we rewritten? Are we the product of free will and evolution or of genetic engineering and tampering? Where are the structures and proofs of civilizations older than 20,000 years? Why do Hindu texts describe nuclear bombs used by ancient rulers? Is the moon made of cheese or is it a hollow structure that vibrates like a bell when struck? If everything has been a lie, what truth are they so afraid of us finding out? Truth can often be stranger than any fiction. The questions we've explored and the wonder they stir are just threads in a much larger, infinite tapestry. Take what resonates with you, explore the unknown, and never stop questioning the answers you've been given. This concludes Season 1 of the series. Season 2 will continue in the same spirit with deeper dives into the strange, the sacred, and the alchemical. Subscribe if you wish to journey further down the spiral into the forgotten, the forbidden, and the transformative. Together, we can seek wisdom that reaches beyond the perceived boundaries of belief.